Good evening and welcome to the Monday, June 9 Board of Education meeting. Madam Secretary, can you take the roll, please, in order to determine the quorum, please?
Sure. Director Connard?
Present.
Cooney?
Present.
DeBeat?
Present.
LaRue?
Present.
Director Phillips is absent. Director Schneider?
Present.
Sure.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Can we stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and we welcome all our visitors here tonight. With that, we move into Citizen Speaks. If you are here and you would like to approach the board, please note that you will have 3 minutes to talk. Per Iowa code, we cannot engage in any discussion during that. So if anyone would like to approach the board, please, that's the time for you. Okay. Well, thank you. So with that, we move into board targets, goals report, and we have 3 targets. A, students will graduate prepared for post-secondary options. B, Muscatine schools will utilize resources effectively and equitably. And C, students will learn in a positive and supportive environment. We do have a presentation under our first board target, which is the Seal of Biliteracy presentation with Ms. Morgan Moore and Ms. Caitlin Shippers, please.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone who is here tonight. My name is Morgan Moore. I'm one of the associate principals at Muscatine High School. I'm also the district coordinator for the Seal by Literacy. Tonight I have with me Mrs. Skippers and our German teacher, Mrs. Horn, right over there. Tonight is one of my favorite nights because I get to present the students who earned the Seal by Literacy this year, and they get to come up here and we can celebrate their successes this year. So a little bit about the Seal by Literacy that I kind of go into every year when I present and why it's important for Muscatine Community Schools, and then the best part of the night, which would be the students. Back in 2018, Governor Reynolds signed a piece of legislation into law that districts and attendance centers begin offering the Seal by Literacy. We began our Seal by Literacy journey back in 2021-2022. That was kind of an interesting year because we were coming right back from a year when we were still a little bit hybrid, but that was a great time to also begin testing students as well because the momentum for earning the Seal by Literacy was increasing. Why is the Seal by Literacy important? The seniors who earned it this year will definitely tell you that it's not only an extra piece of recognition for them, but it values language as an asset. You are a bilingual speaker of more than one language besides English, and that is important, especially not only in our school community, but in our global community too. Right now, 2 schools in Iowa offer credit if you are receiving the Seal by Literacy. That would be the University of Northern Iowa and Grandview. However, many districts across many colleges and universities across the United States offer credit if you attain the Seal by Literacy. So, within the Muscatine Community School District, we have not only global things happening within our schools, but within our community as well. That's not something I have to talk a lot about, but the many amazing opportunities that our students have, not only to take a second language when they reach the junior high level, but even at the elementary level, we have a dual language immersion program as well. We know our businesses here in Muscatine really value speaking a different language outside of English for their global connections that they have. So right now, at the junior high, you can take Spanish and Chinese, but once you get up to the high school, you can take German and Spanish, French, and Chinese as well. So over the years, we have tested a good portion of our students who are interested. This is something you elect to do. It is not something that is mandatory. So for this year, we had 35 students test, and I believe 22 earned the seal by literacy. We just learned that tonight. This year's languages, and you can see over the past several years, we've had an amazing variety of languages, from Portuguese to Russian to German and French. This year we had a student test in Albanian as well. So the best part of the night would be recognizing the students who earned the seal by literacy. If I could have my senior students come up first. They've already received their certificates and pins. So I have Galilea Plata, Joe McCleary, Amelia Luna, and Anna Storr. These students earned the seal by literacy and received a sticker on their diplomas this year. And Sky Foster, if you could join them as well. I was going to leave Sky Foster for the very end because she is unique in that tonight she earned the seal by literacy in 2 languages that would include Spanish and Chinese. Now, if my junior students could come up, I have Lisi Poppy, Yadiel Rivera, Kalina Fox, so this is just a small group of our students who are in the seal by literacy this year. If we would want to give them a round of applause. We're super
Good job, guys.
So just to end with really quick, these would be our students who had earned the seal by literacy this year. Some of them couldn't be here tonight. And then a really special thank you has to go out to some of our support staff that make sure, that ensure that this is a really special experience for our students. Doreen Bordy and Mindy Stolfus make the certificates and get the pins, and then Allie Meineke and Chris Meeker in our student services make sure all the stickers get on everyone's diplomas. So our juniors who are now really seniors, next year you'll have your sticker on your diploma when you graduate. Any questions?
I guess I would just like to congratulate all the students on becoming the bilingual. It prepares you for the global economy that you're going to be going out into the world. Congratulations.
My question has to do with, I see that at one point in time you had Portuguese, and then you also then have this year Albanian. So I guess help me to understand why those are only in those years in particular or something.
That's a good question. So that student, those 2 students were native speakers in either Portuguese or Albanian. So they became proficient in English when they arrived at Muscatine High School or before then. So their first language was not actually English. So we do have some non-native speakers coming in. Some of our Spanish speakers are becoming proficient in English and vice versa.
Thank you. Very, very good. Thanks.
Any more questions? Well, congratulations to all of you. I mean, it's a great forward steps for all of you, but thank you also for a great presentation.
Welcome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. With that, we move into our superintendent's updates.
Thank you. Got a few things I just want to update on this evening. One, I think, again, just congratulating our students. We've had a lot of really positive things happen this year. I won't present tonight our vision card, where we're tracking a number of data points. Tomorrow morning, we'll have a meeting with all of our administrators. We'll be digging into that a little bit, setting goals for next year, all of those categories. But what I can tell you is when you look at a number, there's about 22 measures in there, and I think about 17 we hit an all-time high in this year. So as we look at our state test scores, as we look at graduation rates, as we look at our attendance attendance continues to improve. Like, there's just a lot of measures that continue to move in the right direction. And that's a credit to the hard work of our staff and the great opportunities for our kids. So, again, just kind of starting out with a reflection on the year, it was a really good year. And I think you're going to see that as we get that in front of you and take a look at those indicators. There's a lot to be proud of. And tonight was a great example of that with our students. So with that, I'll go into some other specific items around budget and some. This past week, we received the preliminary aid and levy report from the state. So, we set our tax rate back in March and April. So we put out what that will be, and then if there are adjustments based on any legislative changes or anything else, then we can adjust those things. So in some of the final budget pieces that were passed, that the governor signed into law, we knew we were not getting more than the 2%, so nothing changed there. But there was a $5 per pupil equity increase. So what that does is it reduces our budget guarantee a little bit. So we're on budget guarantee. So if we would have had an increase above the 2%, that would have helped bring that budget guarantee down. Okay, same thing as this $5 per pupil equity. So that's going to move us from $13.92 to $13.90. It's not a lot, but it is some. And so because it's coming down, we can do that. You don't have to change anything. There aren't going to be any other changes to our cash levy or management fund. So right now, that's where our tax rate will be as we move into next year. So along those lines, as we talk about budget and some of the work, we had those budget meetings. We talked about a budget target of reducing $1.5 million. We've hit that target for next year. And as you know, a lot of that comes through attrition as we, as our district continues to shrink and we have fewer students, we're reducing our staff to kind of right size every year as we move forward. And so through retirements and people leaving, we continue to just tighten up, and through that we've hit our target. However, we've also have hired 23 new staff members. A majority of those, I believe 16, are beginning educators, 5 career teachers. As you know, we hired a ROTC individual for next year, and we've hired a nurse for next year as well. So even though we are reducing, we're still hiring. We have about 5 additional openings that are out there that we currently have posted, and we will continue to work on filling those 5 positions. But from a staffing standpoint, we're in a really good place right now. Okay. That ties into some of the work. One of the pieces that I'll be moving forward with this year, we haven't done this for a few years, is that enrollment study. Last time we did it, obviously we've seen the continued enrollment decline that was projected. There was a piece in there though that really probably the one that we have been watching the closest is kindergarten enrollment. And a lot of that is based on birth rate. We know we lose about 1.5% to 2.5% each year in the birth rate. And this fall will be the year for enrollment for kindergarten where we had the largest reduction in birth rate. We dropped about 100 babies but it was 2020, right? So there are a lot of things that were happening then, so there could be a number of causes for that. But we need to take another look at that, kind of see where we're at. Right? Does that bounce back up? We certainly hope that it does. So we'll be moving forward with that. And again, probably good to do that every so often. The trends that they've talked about, we've continued to see. They do show us flattening out, but again, we'll kind of go back at that and take a look at that as well. We will have a Collaborate Muscatine. You're aware of the Collaborate Muscatine organization that I'm a part of, leaders from across the community. We have our joint council meeting coming up later this month, where we'll have city council, county supervisors, and the school district. One of the things we'll update on is some of the work around Collaborate Muscatine. As you know, the areas of focus for Collaborate is around housing and education. And some of the pieces we've been talking about through Collaborate, through just some of the community discussions, has been around perceptions. Perceptions of school, perception of the community, perception of the city, perception of the hospital, all those things, right? All of that plays into when people make choices, why they're choosing to move here, work here, whatever those things are. And so from my previous experience in Minnesota, there's a company in the Twin Cities that does perception surveys, and they do it a little bit. It's not a mail, email survey. It's not a written survey. They have a calling bank, and they actually call and talk to people. So they create very specific questions. They target specific populations, so they can collect that information. But when they're having those conversations, they can also give you a lot of anecdotal data based on what people are saying and the trends that they hear. So you get a lot of information from that. So that's something we're going to, as a kind of a group of Collaborate Muscatine, we've been talking about moving forward with. We actually met with Peter Leatherman, it's the Morris Leatherman company, and so he's one of the founders of that. We met with him and started talking about that process, really sitting down, developing the questions. He works on all the statistical analysis to make sure things happen. Also, what makes this a little bit unique, because I think the biggest question is, well, what's your response rate? The response rate is actually very high, because what they do is call you and leave you a message. And they say, we're calling on behalf of the local school district, trying to get your input and perceptions on it. We'd like you to call back and schedule. And because it's local, it's something that people, typically care about, they call you back. So their response rate is actually quite high. So I just wanted to give you an update that's a piece that we'll be, moving forward with. We've not built out what all those questions will look like, but we'll certainly share that with you. It's not something that you're going to do every year, but it's something we would do maybe every 2 or 3 years to check back as the work that we're doing as a community and as a district making a difference. So when we think about measuring how we're improving some of those things, this is a piece that came out as a real clear priority for that group. So again, just giving you a heads up on that. Also tonight, you'll notice there's quite a few policies as we, continue to move forward. We've talked about the Assembly software that we're going to move to for our board meetings. So both in, getting agendas to you, but also there's a policy service. Part of that service takes a look at all of our policies and all of the IASB policies, and it says, where are they the same and where are they different? So there's been a number of things and Daphne's done a lot of work on this. Thank you, Daphne. In going back through as they kind of laid this out, sometimes it's a number change. We might have it in the 500s and they have it in the 700s. It could be a name change where we say education and they use educational or some other word similar to that. So it really starts to clean all of this up. They've also identified some policies that we didn't have that we should have. So you're seeing kind of all of that kind of start coming through. And the good news is when this is done, everything will be in alignment. So moving forward, those updates will be much easier to do. So again, you're seeing a number of those policies come through this evening. Also wanted to talk a little bit about later in the agenda, we'll be asking you to approve an agreement for risk pool for property casualty. So we use EMC insurance. And as you know, in the Midwest, but certainly here in Iowa over the last several years, the amount of storms that has caused damage has been significant. And so the cost for property casualty has gone higher and higher and higher. And obviously, we've talked about that from a management fund standpoint because we pay for that insurance out of that management fund. So essentially, what the insurance that we have this year has a 1% deductible. So if a storm happens and there's damage, we're required to meet that 1% deductible. Well, we have large buildings, big roofs, they're expensive. So when we look at our kind of total risk of our buildings currently, that 1% represents about $3 million. So what this risk pool does is basically districts across Iowa buy into that, right? So you pay a fee to buy into that. And then for us, there would be a $75,000 per occurrence. So if a storm comes through and it hits 3 buildings, 4 buildings, it doesn't matter, it's $75,000 per storm or per occurrence, okay? So when you look at our risk for our buildings, plus the premium we're paying to buy into that, it's significantly cheaper than what we're currently operating under with the 1% deductible. So again, they've done all the analysis of, over the past several years, the amount of storms, the damage, what it would cost to build up a fund that could cover storms like that if we have similar storms moving forward, and that's how they've kind of set this up. So again, we're still finalizing quotes for that property casualty, which we, talking with Tom, we'll likely have to you in July, the way it was brought to you last year in July as well. This just, in order to get this up and running, we have to have this agreement approved tonight. So just wanted to give you a little background on that. Also, some good news, as you know, we have talked about this as well with our replacement of the tennis court. There was a grant that Chris was involved with in writing to the United States Tennis Association to provide some additional funding for that court. And there were some requirements in terms of how it was designed that we had to build into that. But we were notified late last week that we did receive that grant, and it's $200,000. So between that, some regional dollars and state dollars, it's about $221,000. So again, that just helps offset some of the cost of that project, which is good. Then just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this week we're starting summer school for Susan Clark, and is a high school as well. So they're doing their credit recovery. That's happening now. And then Spark begins next week. So we're looking forward to getting that rolling. And again, as an open invite, when you get a chance. So we are running it about a week shorter than we did last year. But still plenty of time to get down there over the summer and see some of the amazing opportunities that are happening there. In talking with Susan Clark, they're not necessarily developing a Spark program, but some of the things they are doing this year is building in some additional field trips, getting them out in the community, and some additional experiences there. So again, we're looking forward to all the cool things that will be happening and the great learning that happens there over this next several weeks. And then just the last thing, a special thank you for Daphne and Becky. This is your very last board meetings. And so again, just we've been saying goodbye about every 2 or 3 days. We have some kind of event where we recognize them. But again, all of the dedication and service to the district and to the board and to our community. So we thank you both for your service. And we'll be thinking about you in July. And you can watch it on TV.
Yeah.
And with that, any questions for me?
Actually, not from what you were asking on, but I just thinking that at the very end, we have, of course, about the no food pantry in July. Is there at a point that we're going to discuss about how that's switching over?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So we did, and so many of you are aware of this. So the food pantry is something that's been, the district has been supporting. We had some high school staff members supporting it many years ago. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, it transitioned to the district office, and our district office team kind of took that over. And so I think when we started, we would get between maybe 200, 230, 240 families each month. And we've seen that grow significantly over the past several years, to the point for Riverbend Food Pantry, for their entire area, we are the largest mobile pantry. Mobile pantry is where they drive up in their cars, we load them, they drive away, right? There are other pantries that are in a stationary location where people walk in, pick up the food, and leave. So those might be larger, but in terms of a mobile pantry, we're the largest. Some of the reasons for that is some of the other food pantries in the community have had fewer hours of operations, fewer days they're operating. And our mobile pantry is the only one that has evening hours where you could come after work. So because of that, and we have every month, we typically, the food that you receive it's a pretty good amount of food with some good food in there. And that's partially because there's been a community donor that has provided the funds to supplement that. So again, it's been a great thing for the community. We've just kind of reached a point of capacity where and it continues to grow, and I can tell you that because last Tuesday we had 426 families that we served, right?
And it rained at the very end.
And it rained at the very end. So we started some conversations with Riverbend Food Pantry about what are some other ways, if this continues to grow, how do we manage this? And so in conversations with them and some of their conversations in the community, United Church of Christ here in Muscatine began to send some volunteers to the food pantry to try to get like, hey, what could we support this? Could we start taking this over? And so through those conversations and with their support, they will be transitioning that mobile food pantry to their location in August. So we always take July off, and we have since we've been running it. So July, there's no food pantry, and in August, it will move to the church, which is just past the bypass on Mulberry. Okay. So this last food pantry, they were handing out little pamphlets, they were little cards with the date. We'll get information out on social media just so people are aware. The transition then for us is we will continue working with Riverbend on really setting up small food pantries in each of our buildings. So again, is it going to be to the capacity of what the mobile? No. But it'll have dry good things. Then, and again, working with our resource navigators and our principals, we'll identify spaces. So we'll kind of continue to focus on the kind of the student end of things in the building, students and families there. And they'll take on, the church is taking on more of the community aspect of that food pantry piece, which again, we appreciate all of their support in this transition, their willingness to kind of take that on. And again, one thing that it demonstrates is there's great need in this community, but there's also a lot of great support. And so we're very fortunate for both of those pieces. So Karen, thanks for bringing it.
Thank you.
Any question for Clint? Okay, thank you, Clint, for the updates. Thank you. Great
And if you
updates.
are noticing that there's some drumming going on, so this is the time of year, every year, right after school ends, that we have the, I guess are they a college level, the Colts? They're a traveling marching band group that comes and stays here for a week, so most evenings you'll be hearing them and some of their drumming and playing.
Thank you. So moving forward, we move into action, possible action. The following items are considered to be routine by the Board of Education and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a director so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence from the agenda. The items are minutes, employment recommendations, bills and claims, agreement with IJAC, MHS IJAC program, agreement with Buena Vista University, agreement with Pan O Gold Baking Company, agreement with Prairie Farms for continuing service, special education contracts with Wapello CSD, third and final reading on policies, agreement with the United Way, Aligned Impact Muscatine, board policies no minimal required by law, and finally the final reading of student handbook. What are the wishes of the board?
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, those of you who are in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. That will take us to second page in our agenda, item N, to approve the 2025-2026 agreement between Community Action of Eastern Iowa and the Muscatine Community School District for the Head Start preschool services. What are the wishes of the board?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, those of you are in favor of approving the 25-26 agreement between Community Action of Eastern Iowa and the Muscatine Community School District for Head Start preschool services, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. So we move into item O to approve the 2025-2028 contract between Mississippi Bend AEA and Muscatine Community School District for the transfer of state funding. What are the wishing of the board?
So moved. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just that, is it supposed to be 25 through 28, so it is?
Yeah,
that
so it's
long period?
a three-year agreement, and essentially this is for the 90% of special education funds. So we receive those funds, they have to get the 90%. We have the option for 10. As we've talked previously, we get more staffing out of that 10% by them having it than we would on our own. So in effect, 100% of special ed dollars will go to them. But we're required by law to create an agreement with the AEA for the transfer of that 90% of funds. And so this is what does that.
Any other question? Okay, we have a second, we have a motion and a second and discussion. Those of you are in favor of approving the 25-28 contract between Mississippi Bend AEA and Muscatine Community School District for the transfer of state funding, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. The next item is to approve the math adoption, calculus and pre-calculus materials, and MyLab digital access from Pearson in the amount of $52,891.05. What are the wishes of the board?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, those who are in favor of approving the math, adoption, calculus, and pre-calculus materials and MyLab digital access from Pearson in the amount of $52,891.05. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. So we move into item Q to approve the FY26 general fee structure. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the item.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
So are these fees, have we raised those in recent years?
Periodically, we do. Again, it just depends on, they'll look at that and make recommendations. And typically, if they're going up, it's a minimal, it's a small increase.
Any other discussion? Okay, those of you are approving the FY26 general fee structure, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. The next item, we're going to have a roll call vote on this item. So the item is to approve the following resolution. Resolutions to participate in the Storm Protection Fund and Iowa Code Chapter 28E Entity and Chapter 670 Risk Pool. What are the wishes of the board?
So moved.
Okay.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Director Conard?
Aye.
Director Cooney?
Aye.
Director LaRue?
Aye.
Director DeBeat?
Aye.
Director Schneider? And Director Shore.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So moving forward is to approve the agreement with Pro Playground in the amount of $163,999 for surfacing the playground area for Jefferson School. What are the wishes of the board?
So move.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a reminder that, again, this is provided through the PEPAL funds. It's part of we do about $1.5 million in projects every summer in repair and replacing things. If you've been by Jefferson's Playground and take a look at that surface, it's in really bad shape. And so this will replace that.
Any more questions? Okay, those of you who are in favor of approving the agreement with Pro Playgrounds in the amount of $163,999 for surfacing the playground area for Jefferson School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. Next item is to approve the change order for the Muscatine Community School District Central Phase 2 Auditorium Reno in the amount of $39,946.10 for the new stage curtain. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the change order for the Central Phase 2 Auditorium Reno in the amount of $39,946.10. New stage curtain.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, please. Chris, just for the record, can you explain what this is, as in why we needed this change order? Because I got it correctly that it was not on the original?
Yeah,
order?
so this is the main curtain that's currently red. And that part, all of the curtains were part of the rigging bid and the stage fly that we rejected because of the cost initially. So we're trying to piece together some of those things as we move along here. This is probably the main one because it's the main curtain. We don't want that old red-looking curtain when we finish the auditorium to be standing out as.
And then that money comes from then the consistency?
Yep. We have about $90,000 in contingency for that project, so that'll take a little bit of a chunk of it.
Okay, so 40, that leaves us somewhere around 50,000.
Correct.
To deal with. All right, thank you.
Yep. And I will say too, we're working kind of behind the scenes right now with Russell and Tri-City Electric on the AV portion of the building that we also rejected in the bids because of the cost. So we went through the project pretty extensively and what was in the initial bid, and they're trying to pare that down into something more reasonable for us through Tri-City. So we're hoping over the next week or two, they're going to get us back some numbers on getting the speaker system and AV system prices for us.
The speaker, or as in for the sound equipment?
Yes, correct.
I will be very happy if you can come up with something with that.
I'm working
I
on it.
guarantee.
I'm working on it, Karen.
Well, but then this will be the final curtain call, right?
I hope so, but
Since we're talking about the auditorium, I did have a chance to stop down there on Friday. They have all of the scaffolding up that allows them to work on the ceiling, paint on, there's like 3 levels of scaffolding. I don't know, it must take them forever to put all that together. I did not get on any of that scaffolding, I just looked at it. But what I can tell you is, you just get the sense that when this is done, it's gonna be very, very nice. And so I'm excited to kind of see that progress and a finished product. I think something the community's gonna be very proud of.
Have we gotten any funds from the community since they're gonna be using it?
Those are ongoing conversations that we continue to have.
Okay.
On that sound system part of it, does that also mean like the mics and things for
Yep.
the actors on stage?
Yep, all of those things, yep.
Thank you.
And I invited Tristan Toll, who's got the Schedule C for down there, so he kind of knows all the equipment we had. They had quite a bit of extra loose equipment that we didn't really need, so we're hoping we can get back a price that we can manage here, so.
All right.
Any more questions? Okay, those who are in favor of approving the change order for the Muscatine CST Central Phase 2 Auditorium Reno in the amount of $39,946.10 for the new stage curtain, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. The next item is to approve the purchase of 925 student Chromebooks in the amount of $363,009.75. What are the wishes of the board?
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. I see Scott is ready for any question. Any discussion, any questions?
How many did we buy last year? We bought some last year, didn't we?
950,
Okay.
plus the kindergarten last year. Kindergarten's once every 4 years, so we won't see that again for a while.
So, and I brought this up last year, are we in the process of adding some kind of keyboarding? I know I talked to you about that, but I want on the record, I guess, because, I go into classrooms and just kind of frost me, since that was kind of my deal. But, single finger or pencil or whatever, so hopefully we can get that in there. All right, thanks.
And just a reminder, the funds for this also are the PEPAL funds that we dedicate dollars to every year to make these purchases.
Any other questions? Okay, those of you who are in favor of approving the purchase of 925 student Chromebooks in the amount of $363,009.75, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. So with that, we move into our discussion and information, and the first item is the May financials.
So tonight, we have the May financials, reconciled deposit balances for May and April are presented, treasurer's report, our general fund actual versus budgeted revenues by source and expenditures by object. So our school district auditors were here today. They'll be here tomorrow to begin our fiscal 25 year end. Over the next 12 weeks, we'll start that process of capturing all of our revenues that we need to recognize and expenses related to 24-25. So this will take us up to about August 31st, and then our certified annual report is due September 15th, along with our special education supplement and our annual transportation report. So our auditors will actually return then September 2nd through 5th to finalize their work. So our general fund balance there on the second page is down 1.3% from the same period last year. We've received 92% of our general fund revenues, budgeted revenues. June will be the last month that we get our state aid. And then the balance of our federal revenue will claim this month. Actually, by July 15th, we have to have all those submitted for reimbursement. So we've recognized 79% of our general fund budgeted expenditures, roughly along the same as we were last year at this time. Just remember, we do have, 3 months worth of teacher salary and benefits that we recognize here this month. So June, July, and August, we'll have those done. expensed by the end of June here, so that'll take care of a lot of our budgeted expenditures. Outstanding fines and fees, the total is down about 7.9, almost 8% from last month. Negative lunch balances were down about 2.5%. So over the next several weeks, we're going to begin notifying families of our intent to turn any uncollected fines and fees and negative lunch account balances over to that Municipal Collections of America, the organization the board approved back in April, to assist in our collection efforts. So we'll start that process here. And then, while school's out for the summer, our work in finance ramps up actually with closing out our fiscal year, and we're actually prepping for next year, making sure our contracts are entered for September, for actually July and September. And then budgets and so forth, line item budgets being created and deploy those out to principals and department managers. So if you don't have any questions, that's my report for this month, but that's it.
Any questions for Tom?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah. So, moving forward, we move to item B, first reading of policies, 605.06, Internet Appropriate Use, 209.02, Adoption of Policy, 405.06, which is a new one, License Employee Assignment, 411.05, which is again a new item, Classified Employee Assignment, and 501.08, again a new policy, Student Attendance Records. Any discussion, any question about any of them? Okay, thank you. Remember, we have two more readings with this. So item C, second reading of policies, a new policy 605.08, artificial intelligence in the education environment. And second one, new also policy 605.08R1, artificial intelligence in the education environment, administrative regulations. Any question?
Yes, I do have, thank you. On the 605.08R1, not quite sure if I know what it means by the, it says privacy, and then it has something about school official exemption listed in FERPA, and then described in policy 712.
I'm pulling it up because I don't remember exactly. Let me find it.
This is talking about utilize must meet the requirements, of
It just
the-
means that we can't use any AI that would release personally identifiable information. So they have to meet the requirements that we also have to meet for FERPA, which is the protection of student information.
I wasn't sure what that terminology meant, yeah. Because then it also, I believe it's on the student one, it mentions something about if they do take and say one of the students did something that was wrong from the AI part of it, that according to then how the handbook puts it as in what might be the punishment, is there anything specifically in that part then telling what that would be?
Not necessarily,
or-
but there's general pieces in there like the misuse of technology. And then depending on how they were misusing it could also then trigger that as well.
Reason I say it just recently came up that we had poetry submissions for our Wondering Words thing, and was told that there was at least 5 admissions that were actually AI-generated admissions, and they had to go back to each one of those folks and tell them that they were no longer qualified, of course, and wished to be a part of that. So I guess I'm just, with all the stuff that's going on nowadays with it, wanting to make sure as we formulate this.
And it's
how
an
we're looking.
interesting conversation. It continues to be an interesting conversation. Just last week, within 2 meetings, within, I don't know, a very short period of time, We have a RPP, it's our regional planning partnership. It's essentially work-based learning, a lot of those components where we work with the AEA on, you know, on those pieces with MCC, Eastern Iowa Community College. But part of that work is bringing in people in the business community to talk about what do we need to, you know, what areas should we continue to focus on? What are things that maybe we need to do a better job of preparing students for? A lot of conversation there about, from businesses, about students being able to use AI in the workplace, right? So what skills are we providing them? Within a few hours of that, I had a conversation with a superintendent colleague of mine who had been in Des Moines, working with the Iowa Business Council, which some of our local businesses are a part of that business council, talking about the very same thing. So there will continue to be this interesting dialogue and balance between how do we ensure protections and we're using it effectively, and providing them opportunities to use it so when they get to the workplace, they're ready to use it. So it is something that's just been kind of an interesting dynamic, and I think we'll continue to see that for some time.
Thank you. I think as long as we, you know, keep an eye on it, because from everything I've read, it's such a expanding so fast on it that just as long as we are trying to keep up as much as we can.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Clint, for the also clarification. Okay, moving forward, item D, review board policy, administrative regulations and exhibits. 102E1, civil rights grievance procedures, annual notice of non-discrimination. 102R1, civil rights grievance procedures, administrative regulations. 104R1, anti-bullying, anti-harassment exhibits, forms. 402.1R1, equal employment opportunities, administrative regulations. 404.3R1, substitutes for teachers, nurses, administrative regulations. 501.09R1, chronic absenteeism and truancy, administrative regulation. 502.1R1, student conduct, student suspension, administrative regulations. 502.01R1, student appearance, administrative regulations. 503.07R1, student use of personal electronic device, administrative regulations. 505.4R1, student medication administration, administrative regulation. 505.4E2, parental authorization and release form for the administration of medication to students. 507.1R1, student health services, individual health program, administrative regulations. 708.1E1, school nutrition notices of non-discrimination. And the last one is 708.1E2, school nutrition program, civil rights complaint form. Any question about any of these policy, administrative regulations and exhibits? Okay. So moving forward to the next item, announcements, meetings, events. June 17, 2025, the Joint Council meeting at 6 p.m. here at the MCSD Admin Center, 2900 Mulberry Avenue. July 14th, 2025, our regular board meeting, 6:15 p.m. here at the MCSD Admin Center. And July 21st, 2025, work session meeting at 9 a.m. at the MCSD Admin Center. Remember, no community conversation in July, and also no food pantry in July. Anything else? Well, on behalf of the board, again, as Clint did mention that already, but also on behalf of the board, Daphne, thank you for your service to our board throughout all the years, so we appreciate that. And Becky, thank you also for your service for our school district, so I'm hoping that we continue to see you around, right? So hopefully, so thank you again. Any motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, those of you who are in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Okay, well adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everyone.